In the quiet village of Okimara, nestled between rolling hills and wild forests, there lived an old man known to all as Baba Oko. He was a cornerstone of the village square, a revered figure who sat in the same spot every morning, smoking his pipe and spinning tall tales to anyone who would listen. Children would gather around him after school, their eyes wide with wonder, while the elders often joined in, reminiscing about the good old days. Baba Oko's stories were the stuff of legend. He spoke of wild adventures, of battles with mythical beasts and encounters with ancient spirits, of romance and riches beyond imagination. He claimed to have once single-handedly defeated a lion with nothing but a walking stick, and to have sailed across vast oceans to lands where the sun never set. His tales were as colorful and exaggerated as his weathered coat. While most villagers were charmed, some of the younger generation, including his own grandson Jide, were skeptical. Jide was a bright, curious young man who loved his grandfather dearly, but couldn't shake his doubts. Every time Baba Oko recounted an outlandish feat, Jide would raise an eyebrow and probe for details. But the old man always had a clever answer ready, a wry smile playing on his lips, as if teasing the boy for his disbelief. One evening, after a particularly wild story about how Baba Oko had saved a village from a flood caused by a giant serpent, Jide decided he'd had enough. His curiosity was a constant itch, a feeling that there was more to his grandfather's past than he was letting on. The stories, as entertaining as they were, seemed to be a mask for something deeper, something mysterious. "Baba Oko," Jide said later that night, his voice tentative. "Tell me, how did you really come to be in Okimara? What was your life like before you came here?" The old man paused, the firelight flickering in his tired eyes. He'd been asked similar questions before, but always laughed them off. Jide's tone, however, was different. It was serious. "You want to know the truth, eh?" Baba Oko muttered, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "It's not a tale for the light-hearted." Jide nodded eagerly. This was it. "I was not always Baba Oko," the old man began, his voice distant. "Before Okimara, I lived in a village far to the east. I was a man of great ambition, but I made a terrible mistake, a mistake that nearly cost me everything." Jide leaned forward, hanging on every word. Baba Oko's voice shook with emotion as he told a story unlike any he had shared before. Years ago, he was a young man named Oko, son of a simple farmer but filled with dreams of greatness. He heard whispers of a powerful artifact hidden deep in the eastern forest, a talisman said to grant its wielder unimaginable strength and fortune. Driven by ambition, Oko set out alone, leaving everything behind. The journey was treacherous, but he was relentless. He found the talisman, but it came with a terrible price. The artifact was cursed. It gave its bearer power, but it also consumed their soul, twisting them into something monstrous. Blinded by his thirst for power, Oko took it. For a while, it seemed to work. He grew stronger, wealthier, and more feared. But as time passed, the curse took hold. His mind grew clouded, his heart hardened, and he found himself making cruel decisions, pushing away everyone he cared about, losing his humanity bit by bit. Realizing the danger, Oko fled, leaving his cursed fortune behind. He eventually made his way to Okimara, changed his name to Baba Oko, and vowed never to speak of his past again. The fantastical stories he told were just a way to bury the truth, to escape the man he had once been. Jide listened in stunned silence. For the first time, Baba Oko looked vulnerable, as if the weight of his past had finally caught up to him. The grandfather who had always been so full of life now seemed broken. "But Baba, the talisman, did you ever get rid of it?" Jide asked, his voice barely a whisper. Baba Oko's eyes darkened. "No, I never did. It is still out there, somewhere, waiting for someone else to find it. And when they do, the curse will continue." An eerie silence filled the room. Jide's mind raced. Now he understood why his grandfather was so secretive. But the story felt incomplete. There were too many unanswered questions. He had to know more. Determined to uncover the full truth, Jide embarked on his own quest. He spoke to the elders, examined ancient texts, and scoured the forests around Okimara for any trace of the talisman. His search led him to a hidden cave deep within the woods. There, he found an inscription on the walls, an ancient warning about the talisman, S power, and the curse that bound it. And it was there, in the heart of the cave, that Jide discovered the unthinkable. The talisman wasn't just a simple artifact. It was the source of a much darker force, one that fed on the souls of those who sought it, driving them to madness and destruction. Baba Oko hadn't just been a victim of the curse, he had unknowingly been part of something far more sinister. The talisman was a gateway to a world of dark magic, and his grandfather had opened it. Jide wasn't ready to give up. He returned to Baba Oko and confronted him with his discovery. Grandfather, the talisman. It's not just cursed. It's part of something much bigger. We have to stop it. Baba Oko, looking utterly defeated, finally admitted the whole truth. The talisman was never meant to be destroyed. It was part of a cycle, a never-ending loop of power and corruption that had existed for centuries. The only way to break the cycle was for someone to willingly sacrifice their own soul to the talisman, a selfless act that would end its power once and for all. Jide's heart pounded as he realized what needed to be done. The burden had now passed to him. He had to make the ultimate choice, sacrifice his life to destroy the talisman and end the curse, or allow it to continue its reign of terror for generations to come. In the end, Jide chose the path of sacrifice. He walked back to the cave and placed his hand on the talisman. The world seemed to shake as dark magic swirled around him, but he remained resolute. As his soul was drawn into the artifact, he felt a final moment of peace. The curse was broken. The cycle had ended. Back in Okamara, Baba Oko would never tell another story again. The village no longer saw him as a figure of mystery, but as a man who had lived through an unimaginable darkness and passed his legacy on. The villagers never knew the full truth of Baba Oko's past. They only remembered the man who had once been a legend, and the grandson who became a hero, though no one would ever speak his name again. The talisman's curse was gone, but its shadow would forever linger in the memory of Baba Oko's tales. Thanks for watching. For more interesting tales like this, be sure to subscribe to the Ethanade channel. We'll see you in the next story.